Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK 102.5 FM. Good morning to you on your Wednesday. It's October 5th, 2016. It is the first Wednesday of the month, so that means it is time for our monthly interview with Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott, and he is in the studio with us today, along with myself, Kato Wonder, and my co-host, Mrs. Kubila Harden. And joining Chief Elliott today, we have Officer Josh Beasley. He is a field training officer, and we have Miss Victoria Evans, who is one of the newest members of the Jonesboro Police Department. So we're going to be talking with all of these officers today about some of their experiences with the Jonesboro Police Department. So how's everyone doing today?
Good.
Good morning.
All right, so Chief, let's go ahead and kind of just start off. We had National Night Out last night throughout the city. KLEK, we came to the one on the north side of town. And of course, you can find pictures on our KLEK Facebook. Officers mingled with members of the community and all of the various National Night Outs. They cooked hot dogs, played with the kids, and I just had overall good time. So I just want to kind of get your thoughts on that.
Well, sure. This is a yearly event that we host every year in Jonesboro and all across the country, actually. This is a program that we try to get the community out involved, and for the community, we want the neighbors to get to know each other, and then the officers involved there, we want the officers to get to know the community that we're out protecting and serving.
All right, and we just recently had testing. I believe testing was September 17th, so kind of let the listeners know how did the testing cycle went.
Well, we completed testing cycle. We had roughly 46 applicants, I think, passed everything out of the ones that showed up. And at this point, we're in the background investigation stage. So this will take about a month or so to go through backgrounds and which includes polygraph. So probably by the next month I come back, we should be wrapping up on that and heading towards the interview stage to fill the 3 slots that I have left.
All right, and were there many minorities that applied?
I didn't make it on testing day, so I don't know what the makeup of the applicants looks like. And at this point, when they're filling out the paperwork now, it'll be the first time I will see what race anybody is. Up until then, it's just a generic application with a name, and we don't know anybody's race or anything.
All right, and of course, something else that is going on with the police department is the Session 4 of the Citizens Police Academy, which is an outreach of the Jonesboro Police Department, which allows citizens to get a taste for what police officers did. Myself and Miss Evans did Session 2, and of course, as you see, Miss Evans liked it so much that she decided to come on full-time and become an officer.
She did. And we're actually going into week 6 this Thursday night with CPA, and classes seem to be flying by. I think everybody involved in it's having a good time as they have in previous classes, and and we actually got 2 officers out of our CPA classes. Not only Victoria, but Officer Cheyenne Jordan. She's currently on 2nd shift, but she was a byproduct of the CPA class also.
So as you can see, the Citizens Police Academy not only educates citizens on what police do, it also serves as a good recruiting tool for the department as well.
Absolutely. I mean, they invested 12 weeks of their time for this program, and it gave them opportunity to see if this is something they really wanted to do, and obviously it was, and it inspired them to move forward, and we're proud for it.
I'm going to turn over to Kubila, and I don't want to dominate the conversation.
Well, some of the questions I had were a little more not so soft. There's been so many things going on in the news lately, and there are people people have asked me certain questions because they know I do the show, mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, all I could do is ask the officers how they feel about certain things, and not to get too controversial, but with the recent murder, I don't want to say murder, the recent
shooting,
officer-involved shootings.
Okay.
There was one story that came across the news about in North Carolina. They're going to try to start withholding dash cam and body cam videos. How do you feel about that? Like, I don't.
They're gonna start doing what?
They want to withhold the videos from the dash cams and like body cams.
Right.
I know that releasing video too soon before the investigation is complete, can cause harm to the investigation, and then not releasing at all can result in what they saw in North Carolina with the riots and various things. But I don't know, like, what are the laws on that and how?
Well, under our FOIA laws, the Freedom of Information laws, if something's under investigation, we're not required to release it.
Okay.
Now, on the administrative end of it, there is a point in time that I do want to get that information out there because the public does have an interest. Okay. And as we have seen, the longer you withhold information, it can cause problems.
Okay.
So there is that fine line. You have to kind of make that judgment when to release, as long as it's not jeopardizing what you're doing on the investigation, and then try to get out there to meet the public needs. So it is a fine line that each sheriff or police chief across the country has to make that decision on what they're going to do and when to do it. But my philosophy is, as soon as we can get information out there, the better off we are. It just keeps everybody informed, and an informed community tends to cause less problems, because when people are not informed, they tend to make up their own minds, or they tend to get wrong information.
Yes.
And sometimes wrong information, you can't go back and undo it. So we try to stay on top of these things when they possibly.
If you have a question or comment for either of these officers, the phone number is 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. You can call or text your comment or your question to either of these officers. We got a couple Facebook shout-outs. Shout out to David Carnes and Cora Evans Hester, two more people who completed the Citizens Police Academy. And I see we have Mrs. Farrell on the line.
Good morning, Mrs. Farrell.
Kayla K. Hey, Miss Farrell.
Good morning.
Hey, Miss Farrell.
Hello.
Hey, Miss Farrell.
How's everybody?
We're good. We're good.
Well, I'm sorry I missed the night out last night, but I did some babysitting and I was wore out.
I bet you were.
I couldn't come. But I know it was good, and I was thinking about y'all. I knew they're always good.
We always appreciate your thoughts and prayers on us.
Okay, I had one question to ask. I didn't do my ride along.
Okay.
And I know you were offended because of what was going on in the nation.
Sure.
Are you going to start back with this class?
Yes, ma'am. We'll get you accommodated on your ride along.
Okay, well, I definitely want to have that experience. I was just going to call and check.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay, I'm careful.
All righty.
All right, thank you, Ms. Farrell, for the call. All right, let's move on to something that has made a lot of news locally in the police department. The issue of police raises. The raises were passed by the city council. It's been a long time coming. There were several meetings in which the council discussed it, and during each of these meetings, Jonesboro Police showed up in mass to support the proposal. Now, as far as police getting raises themselves, no one is against police getting raises, but there are some people who felt that the budget should have been looked at more carefully before passing the raises so quickly. So I want to kind of get each of your thoughts on that. Now, before you answer that, one of the issues that came up, and it's kind of interesting because we have the field training officer and we have the new officer in the studio. One of the complaints that led to this was that the field training officer was making around the same as the rookie being trained, and that was causing some frustration. And I'm sure Mr. Beasley, you probably experienced that frustration firsthand before these raises went into effect. So I just kind of want to get everyone's comments on the police raises.
Well, like I said, I've been here for 7 years. We got our pay stubs the other day. I think there was a $70 difference between mine and Victoria's, and it gets frustrating after a while when you're training. Somebody you make $70 more than they did, but you have to go through every aspect of training, and so of course they're brand new, and I admire the job for taking the job. And but then there's, I've also been here 7 years and devoted a lot of my life to this department, and I just feel like there should have been some step raises involved. We'd like to know, where we're going to be in the years to come.
So Victoria, now how does that make you feel? Because now you just got hired on. I think everything's gonna kick in October 15th. So when that kicks in, you'll start off at 34.5. Once you hit your 1 year, you'll go up to this amount. If you're still there, which we pray that you will be, in 5 years you'll go up to this amount, and all the way 20 years from now, you'll be at this amount. Hopefully, we'll be calling you Sergeant or Lieutenant Evans. We're gonna claim that. But how do you feel about that, knowing that if you stick with this job and you continue to serve, that that you will get paid more money as a new officer?
Well, I mean, personally, I'm a single mom, so, every little bit helps. But at the same time, I didn't take the job for the money. So with me being new and everything, I haven't really, I paid attention to the pay raises and all that stuff, but it really doesn't, I can't really get excited about it because I'm excited about the job and not really the money aspect of it, So, I mean, they deserve it. All the officers that's been here longer than me and everything, I know they deserve it, especially this one for putting up with me. But
you've been that difficult. Well, we're gonna talk about that in a little bit about your experiences with field training.
Yeah, but I think they deserve it. But for me, it's not about the money at all.
All right, and Chief, your thoughts? Because you were that was one of the main priorities of yours when you took over to put this step plan in place.
This is 2 years coming. That actually longer than that. But when I took over as chief, this is one of the things I wanted to get through was step raises for these officers. Again, we had the pay scale that had a minimum and a medium, a midpoint and a max, but there's never a path to get to these other parts of the scale. So now that we have a scale in place, these officers can see what they're going to be making. So we had the scale, developed the scale and plugged the officers in place. So now we have separation with their tenure here in the department. So once everything gets lined out and in place, there will be significant difference in the paychecks from the new person to the person that's been here 7-10 years.
All right, we got a couple other Facebook shout-outs. Shout out to Cookie Van Hooser Cooter, who also did CPA. CPA is representing today.
Absolutely.
And Cora says, big shout out to JPD's finest. And David says, proud of these officers and very proud of the JPD. So shout out to everyone from the Citizens Police Academy representing on our Facebook feed today.
Okay. I don't know if it's a question, but I saw that someone gave you all a shout out on your page from a lady named Jill Gartman Mooney. Even though this was back in September, she said a big thank you to Zach on the police force. He was working our neighborhood, walking the streets, looking for vandals at midnight. Well, last night, which was September 23rd. He was so helpful and concerned when he saw my car door open. We got a great group of men working for us all. So is this something that's going to be happening on a regular? Policemen maybe walking the streets versus just riding?
On that particular situation, you had calls of a prowler in the neighborhood.
Okay.
And they found some vehicles have been broken into. So cases like that, the officers get out and they start walking and checking the neighborhood. Okay. And we have a rash of people, they leave their cars unlocked, and usually young adults or sometimes juveniles, they'll go around and start what they call checking cars. Mm-hmm. And I find the car unlocked, they'll open up and they're stealing the contents on the inside. People are leaving purses and laptops, anything of value in there unsecured, and so therefore it's causing a big problem. Okay. And there's several neighborhoods that's been hit here recently from that. So on this particular incident, yes, there were some vehicles have been broken into that particular night, and in fact the whole neighborhood been several cars been rummaged through. So just officers get out on foot and start walking, and sometimes they'll find evidence that has been dropped that the thieves may have dropped, so they'll collect evidence. So it's all about building the case.
Okay.
So it's not just about riding around. These officers do get out and when needed and do a little footwork.
And transitioning into that, one of the topics that I mentioned to Chief that we want to talk about for the show was the concept of community policing. And it's actually ironic because during the vice presidential debate last night, the subject of community policing versus stop and frisk was brought up. And when you took over, Chief, that was another one of your priorities to institute a model of community-oriented policing. But for the listeners out there who may not know what that is, explain what is community-oriented policing, how it works, what steps you've taken to implement that into the department, and contrast that with, with stop and frisk.
Okay. Well, community-oriented policing, we just want to get the officers involved in the community, and it begins with just programs such as reaching out in the community, such as we did at Parker Park. One of the first events we did was Unity in the community up on the north end at Parker Park, and that just the officers got together. We cooked hamburgers and hot dogs for the kids. We had a friendly game of basketball with the neighborhood kids, and it's just starting to build those bridges and building that community relationship. There's a lot of things that have been going on in the world and involving law enforcement, and some of it's negative. And one way to break down these stereotypes and barriers is to reach out in the community and do public events like this. Citizen Police Academy, that's another way to educate the public on what we're doing. And you get a group of citizens in there through this 12-week program, and when they graduate, they have a different perspective about policing. And from that, we've graduated 97 citizens at this point from our Citizen Police Academies, and that's 97 advocates that I have for the police department at this point. So, we're continuing to reach out. We participated in different forums here on university campus. We're still working on some other forums and other events. It's an ongoing process. When you're talking about community policing, it's not just a few get-togethers and call it done. It's ongoing. This is something you want to do and keep on going, every few months and year-round. And we're just trying to find different ways to reach out and touch different parts of the community. You can't do the whole city at once. You have to go to neighborhoods and just take it one neighborhood at a time. But that's how you accomplish anything, is one step at a time. And when you build this relationship with the community that you're serving, on the times that you have to make a stop and encounter the citizens for whatever reasons, and hopefully there's been a positive relationship and building up to that, so therefore the encounter goes without any kind of incident.
Okay. Well, I wanted to hear from the officers, patrolmen, sorry. Since you have been on the force for 7 years, I know you can't talk about all of your experiences, but based on your experiences, what do you try to pass on to the newer officers?
Be nice to everybody that you encounter.
Okay.
We try to treat everybody the same. Just be courteous to people. That's the biggest part of the job, is just dealing with the community and being able to talk situations down without having to use force. We definitely don't want to use force if we don't have to. And you got to be a good talker to be a police officer. You got to be a therapist and a doctor and a lawyer and a little bit of everything. But the first thing you got to be is a good talker and being able to talk your way out of situations.
Okay. So, do you work a particular neighborhood?
I don't.
Okay.
I'm somewhere different every day.
Oh, okay. So is that how it works with the?
Well, some of the newer officers are assigned to areas.
Gee, pull the mic a little closer to your mouth. Okay. Kind of got turned off center.
Yeah, some of the newer officers are assigned same area most of the time. Once you get some seniority in, they become what they call general patrol. They're backing up some of the other area officers. So it's kind of a floating position.
Okay.
So, but no, we have 6 areas of patrol that, for the most part, the same ones every day. And due to days off, the schedule does change up some. But over a period of time, you start learning the people and seeing the same people in your area that you patrol, and you start to get to know names.
Okay. I want to ask Officer Beasley. Mm-hmm. You said you try to be nice to everyone, but there are just some people.
There are some people that
you can't. How do you? We see a lot of news stories on excessive force and just all types of things. How do you personally try to balance? Okay, I don't want to pull out any weapons. I don't want to tase or shoot. Where do you have to go in your head to try not to?
You can't take it personally.
Okay.
In this job, I served a lot of time overseas. I've been to 2 countries that's the way I look at it. I've been to Iraq and Afghanistan, 2 countries that have no police, and that's a model that we definitely don't want to see. I just let it roll off. You got to let a lot of this roll off your shoulders. You can't take it personally. I've seen what bad situations is, and to me, Jonesboro is not a bad situation. People really have no idea what they're looking at as compared to those 2 places. So I let it roll off my shoulders. I've tased 2 people in 7 years. Oh, wow. And both of those were just running away from me. It wasn't like physical altercations. I've been in just a couple. So it's really had a good time here. Really, the citizens, they've been really good. And I treat people with respect, and usually I get respect. So.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Getting ready to go to break. This is Community Conversations with Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Are your little chicks about to fly the nest? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. School is coming to a close, and that means some households will be child-free for the first time in 18 years. For many moms, the empty nest syndrome can be really difficult emotionally. And moms who've invested all their time and energies into raising their children also face another challenge. When the kids fly the coop, mom suddenly turns her affection and attention back to her husband, only to find that he's not even in the same tree anymore, so to speak. But it's possible to become lovebirds again. Remember, your family first.
For more resources on today's topic, go to markmerrill.com. The Family Minute with Mark Merrill, helping families love well.
Family Minute is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook.
New St. John Missionary Baptist Church Pastors Aid Committee presents a fish fry fundraiser Sunday, October 9th at the church located at 308 North Main Street in Jonesboro. The time is 1 o'clock p.m. The deadline to pre-order plates is September 24th. The plates include 3 pieces of fish, choice of 2 sides, dessert, and drink. More information is available at the church at 870-932-6915.
Lame excuses and other forms of voter apathy have no place in American democracy. Show that you can do your duty and go vote. This is a reminder from Cheryl Underwood Radio.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations with Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott. We also have Officer Josh Beasley, and we have Officer Victoria Evans. And of course, if you have a call or a question or a comment, you can call us at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. We have several Facebook shout outs, so let me go ahead and go through them. Shout out to Cameron Elliott, David Alexander, Cookie Cooter, David Carnes, and Cora Evans Hester. And we've got some comments. Nora Hunt says, I want to take the CPA class to see what the officers really do. David Alexander says, hey Chief, put me in for the JPD reserves training. And also, this is great. Wish I could watch the whole thing, but got to get back to work. Well, David, the video will be available after we get off the air, so you can catch when you get off work the part that you missed. All right, so let's we were talking earlier about community policing, but we're going to transition into a different topic. We're going to talk about racial sensitivity training. Obviously, there are several officer-involved incidents throughout the country, and many of these incidents involve an officer who may be white and the other person involved may be black, and which can often involve tension. So what I want to ask Chief, and then the other 2 officers go in, what policies and training does JPD have in place to ensure that people of any race or gender, creed, sexual orientation, or persuasion, or whatever, does not get profiled, gets treated fairly
Well, sure. We have a bias-based policing policy in place that addresses all these issues. That, in fact, this policy it's mandatory that it's reviewed every year with the officers. So it's brought up as a refresher and part of our retraining that this is gone through again, and make sure everybody clearly understands. But as an officer basically said a while ago, it's the officers are expected when you have a citizen encounter with anybody, we have a protocol that you go through. It doesn't make any difference what your race is. You approach the individual, you identify yourself, and say if it's a traffic stop situation, you tell them what the infraction was, and then ask for the information you need and go on and do their business. And, you know, on the, say, traffic stop, you're going to get the warning or get a ticket, and it's going to proceed on. But we try to treat everybody as we'd want to be treated if we were in the same situation. It's about customer service. It's like any business. You want to treat the people that you're dealing with openly and fairly as possible. Sometimes those people do not receive the initial treatment very well, and things go bad, and that's when we have problems. But for the most part of what we're doing, we have very few problems. You know, as I mentioned the other day on the show, we've made over 12,000 traffic stops city since January 1st this year, and I've got less than 30 complaints that's been filed. So things are going right and going pretty good, and so that's something we can brag about. And so we're doing what we're supposed to do, and we just ask the citizens that do what you're supposed to do, and just do what the officer asks you to do. The encounter will be brief. If you have a complaint about the officer, then you complain later. So the rule is comply now, complain later, and we'll have no problems. And if everybody across the country would take heed to this, then people don't soldiers. So we have a court system. We have a process of complaining. We have a court system that you can hear your case will be heard before. So it's not going to be settled on the street. If you want to try to settle on the street, it just does not work out well, and that encounter, does not end well.
All right, we want to bring it to Officer Evans, since you are obviously a new officer. Talk about your experiences so far, especially being a minority officer, how some of the things that you've observed since you've, graduated and started working, attitudes that you've gotten from various people. Just want to talk about your experiences as a new officer and as a new minority officer.
Well, I've been getting a lot of, people saying that they're proud of me for doing it, and we need more blacks to, step up for the community and everything.
Well, that's good,
so,
and we're certainly proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. I've been getting a whole lot of good responses from people. Just, I've always treated people with respect, and I've been getting it back. But yesterday, it kind of went to a different level. I had a traffic stop with a black guy, and I was the only black officer out there, but it seemed like he gave me more problems than the other officers that were there with the situation for some reason. But
and how did that make you feel?
I just kind of did my job. I couldn't, like they say, never take it personal, and which I didn't. But after the situation was over with, I was just kind of like, he was a little bit harder on me than the other guys. But a lot of people pay attention to Facebook and the media and never really get down to the actual situations. They always want to listen to what other people's opinions, and you can't do that, which I used to do it before I actually got into the Citizen Police Academy. And I'm like, these officers bad and everything, until I got into it and I see what all you have to put into a situation. And like I said, they've told me you can't take it personal, which I don't. Everybody has their own views, and he talked his way into going to jail.
Were you the one that had to cuff him and take him to jail?
I did, yeah. But what was started out minor, which was just a speeding ticket, ended up going to jail because of how he put himself into that position. So,
well, I remember from CPA we were told you can talk yourself into a ticket before you can talk yourself out of one.
Yeah.
Blake, you can also has an event at Legends 1025. He holds down security for us. So if you see him at Legends, say hello to him. So shout out to you, Blake.
Alright.
Oh, I was gonna let you get a question because with these chief interviews, I can kind of just go on and on because this is always one of my favorite days of community conversations.
Well, we wanted to hear Officer Beasley's side. Well, your thoughts and feelings on, when it comes to race issues or, what you've had to deal with or how people treat you or what you've experienced or witnessed or whatever.
Because I imagine you have a unique perspective being a field training officer. You've trained white officers, black officers, some Hispanic officers. You've trained, officers of all races. So with that in mind, like Quabila said, what's your perspective?
I've told her we don't treat people differently. It doesn't matter. I look at crime as from the criminal aspect, and to me it doesn't matter what color you are. It's the same all around. So it doesn't matter.
Have you ever been out on patrol or made a traffic stop or had to answer a call and say there were officers of two races? Were you treated differently or worse? Some people try to, I don't want to say hype the situation. They treat one officer that's not like them differently.
Sure, that's part of it. The black community tends to want to talk to the black officers, and that's fine. I'm totally fine with that. That's sure. We always have that situation, but no big deal if they want to talk. If they want to use the black officer, that's more than fine with me.
I hope they don't think that they're going to go easy on. I mean, they still have a job.
They do, but I'll be honest. Yeah, the black community tends to want the black officers to take it easy on them. That's part of it.
Were you the incident that Officer Evans mentioned? Were you with her on that as her FTO?
No,
And I know I'm sorry I'm asking harder, darker questions.
Well, I mean, this is what this program is for. It gives
this
not
is
just
what we live in. Times are not all rosy. Sometimes there's dark situations, and that's part of the community conversation. And just bring it on up.
And speaking of that, if you have a question, once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. You can call or you can text the question, and if you call or text, Chief will give his honest answer. So don't be afraid to call or text. You're not going to get arrested for calling or text and asking the question.
These questions I came up with, were based on replies to different Facebook. I know I need to stay off of Facebook, but I'm sorry. Okay, say there is an officer involved incident, whether it's a shooting, tasing, whatever, and there have been people that said the officer seem to lack empathy for I know that person at one point was a criminal, but now they are, say, bleeding or they're whatever's going on, they're hurt, and the officer that was directly involved kind of like hands off. So, and sometimes some people have died as a result of if they could have received just basic CPR.
Well, it could be like, I think what you're getting at, you correct me if I'm wrong, is after an officer involved shooting, they say, well, the officer let the person bleed to death in the street, didn't try to get him any medical attention after the shooting was over. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
In essence. Well, let's take you kind of crossed two boundaries there. You said tasing and shooting, so there's two totally different things. So let's just back up to say officer involved shooting, and then I guess you're referring to something that's going on across country. But the officer that was involved in that shooting has just undergone a psychological traumatizing event, and now he's worried. He or she's worried that now they've shot somebody, and all these things going on in their head, and sometimes rendering aid may not be the first thing that pops in their head. But I think situations, especially we've had around here, that if we've had that situation, then aid was immediately given. So I can't speak for law enforcement across the country, but we've had officer-involved shootings here, and turn around and begin administering aid, and that's all played out. A lot of it goes back to, some officers may not be, trained enough in administering some kind of first aid on a shooting or things. Now, all officers receive some basic first aid when they go through the police academy. And since their academy first aid training, we have amped it up a little bit, and we've supplied all of our officers with tourniquets on their belt. And actually, we've had 3 saves with tourniquets just this year alone. So we're teaching our officers to deal with stabbings and shootings and things like that, more severe trauma injuries. But I think in your community here in Jonesboro, if a situation like that, no, we're gonna jump in, and it may not be the one that just pull the trigger, but there's going to be somebody right there that is going to jump in on it. So, and it's on any situation. These officers arrive on stabbings and shootings quite often, and start administering first aid before the ambulance folks get there. So this is just what they do day in, day out. Accident scene, same thing. I mean, we're limited on the medical equipment that we carry, but we do have stuff that we can control major bleeding if something's going on until the ambulance can get there.
Oh, so we have a great group of officers here in Jonesboro, and I'm really happy. I know there has been a rash of crimes lately.
All right, Miss Farrell is calling back in. Kayla K.
Yeah, I had to call in while I had my thought on. Let me turn the radio down a little bit.
All right, Miss Farrell.
I was going to say that I challenge people still to, and to the listeners today, to go to the academy and sign up for it, because you learn a lot about the police officers and what they do, and they learn a lot about you. It's a two-way street here.
That's right.
And I think that fear will go away about if they have a hate on police, if the police have a hate on them. Because once you get just about the all lies back to race. You got some that just feel the way they feel, and some that are going to do the right thing. Everybody's not going to. We all don't always do the right thing. But when our life and guns are involved, you want to be assured that people will do. And I think that trust that we're trying to build between the public with the people and the police is about, learning about each other.
That's right.
And give each other a chance. So I challenge people to take the academy course, go in and see what they're talking about. And they're going to listen to you because they listen to me. And I know they listen to me, they'll listen to anybody. So go in and challenge them and ask them questions, and they'll ask you, and you'll get that. You just feel so much better.
You're absolutely right.
And they will about you, too. That's all I had to say.
As I've said many times, we learn when we talk to each other instead of at each other. And that's what CPA is all about. We just sit down and have these discussions that's going on across the country. We want to bring it up, and we want to get everybody's temperature fired up and get it out there, because as officers teaching the class, we're learning. We're learning with this citizen perspective about whatever situation is, and from that we take, and if I need to change policy, procedure, or anything, then we're learning from it. So we get a lot out of this program also.
All right, and we'll get the information on how you can sign up for the spring CPA class at the end of the show. We do have a quick text question for Chief, and this question is: does a person have to obtain a search warrant to trace someone's email and get their phone number?
Yeah, we're going through your emails. We'll get a search warrant.
Alrighty.
Well, what if it's an individual, like a citizen, they think you're harassing them, and they want to find out who you are? So you send an email anonymously, but they somehow try to find out who you are by tracking, I guess, the IP
I guess you're being stalked or harassed.
Well, then that person needs to make out a criminal complaint if somebody thinks they're being stalked by somebody. But with this Facebook stuff and things, the social media, there's all kinds of harassment things going on, and we just got to tell people, be cautious what you put out there. Just like the national news with the Kardashians thing going on that y'all were talking about prior to this show, that it's a big mess. So that's probably another educational point that we'll address another day, is social media do's and don'ts, and what to watch out for, because I think people just put way too much stuff out there.
Yes, sir. All right, let's bring in Officer Beasley, because we only have about 4 more minutes. So I just want you to kind of talk about your role as a field training officer. Talk about some of the things that you're teaching Officer Evans. Maybe kind of go through a typical day as an FTO. What some of the things that you may go over with Officer Evans.
All right. Well, we begin our day. She prepares the patrol car. She gets the computer logged up and on, and make sure there are several different programs that we use with dispatch and with reports and stuff. I try to look over the reports from yesterday and see what happened, in the community. She checks the back seat make sure that nobody that we might have took to jail yesterday hid anything in the back seat. She checks that, checks the trunk, make sure the guns are good, the lights are all working, all the blue lights and everything are working. Then we begin our tour duty wherever we're patrolling at. There's an extra patrol list in the computer that you can look at and see what's going on in your sector for the day. You kind of go over the reports from yesterday and see what happened where yesterday. You could be expecting problems there today or not. And then just go patrol your sector. And each call we go on, whether it be an alarm or we went to a civil standby before we came here, which is a landlord-tenant dispute. We talk about each thing in depth as we do it. There's just too many calls and too many situations to sit down in 30 minutes and try to explain. I've been here 7 years. There's stuff that I learn every day. Laws are constantly changing, people's changing, stuff's changing. You can't learn this job in 10 years. Chief learns every day, I'm sure, at 30 years.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'll just ask this question right quick. How much of a role do you allow her to play? Is it kind of you doing it and you showing her, or do you let her take more?
It depends on what phase she's in. We have 3 different phases. They'll ride a month on each shift. She's in her second phase. When I have a first phase rookie, they won't do much. They'll observe me pretty much the whole time. Her second phase, she's driving now. She's taking the wheel a little bit more as we speak. I let her talk to people more and just make sure that she's saying, the right things.
It's okay.
Making sure that she's correct on all of her laws and stuff like that.
And then what happens on the third phase?
Generally more of the same. They kind of take the wheel. They have to get ready for what's called the ghost phase. It's 3 days where they have usually a supervisor or a senior FTO ride with them, and they're a ghost. Okay. They don't say anything. They just observe. Wow. And so they have to get prepared for that. That by that third phase, they should be pretty much on their own.
All right. And in the last 1 minute, Officer Evans, just kind of give your response and your thoughts to that. Some of your thoughts on the field training that you've gotten so far as you progress through the phases.
Oh, well, it's totally different than just sitting in the classroom. I'm learning way more now than I learned a lot in the academy, but being actually hands-on with everything, I'm actually, seeing it in a different perspective, and I'm learning a whole lot. It's a lot to try to swallow, but I'm learning and just going with it every day.
All right. Well, we certainly wish you continued success. Don't forget, we have one more segment left, so if you still have any questions, the number is 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. Call or text your questions. We have Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott, Officer Josh Beasley, and Officer Victoria Evans. This is Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. Debtors Anonymous lists the following signs that you might have a serious problem with debt. You are a compulsive shopper. You make impulsive purchases, leaving price tags on clothes so they can be returned and not using items that you've already purchased. You have difficulty meeting basic financial or personal obligations, or you have an outsized sense of accomplishment when you do meet such obligations. How do you celebrate? Probably more shopping. You have a different feeling when buying things on credit than when paying in cash, a feeling of being accepted or grown up. If any of these describe you, accept that you may have a problem with chronic debt and get some help. Check out Debtors Anonymous at debtorsanonymous.org for resources, including help identifying a debt support group to join. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters. a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Money Matters is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization dedicated to uncompromising commitment to communities, service, leadership, empowerment. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org. KLEK 102.5 FM and Massey Productions presents the inspirational gospel stage play, What Don't Kill Me Makes Me Stronger. A story of three sisters challenged to cope with cancer, drugs, and rape that will inspire you, renew, and reaffirm your faith. 2 shows, 6 and 8:30 p.m., Friday, October the 14th, during A-State Homecoming Weekend at the Epic Center, 1899 County Road 333, Hasbrook Road in Jonesboro. Tickets are $10 in advance, $20 at the door, and can be purchased at www.klekfm.org or by calling 870-277-1080. Bring the entire family Friday, October the 14th during A-State Homecoming Weekend to the Epic Center to see What Don't Kill Me Makes Me Stronger, the inspirational gospel stage play. 2 shows, 6 and 8:30 p.m. This is a KLEK fundraiser.
Experience the joy with Bishop Adrian R. Rogers of Fullness of Joy Church, 3307 Race Street, Jonesboro, Arkansas, 72401.
The key to our representative form of American democracy is the right to vote. When you cast a ballot on Election Day, you make America stronger. Now is the time to register. Election Day will soon be here. Do your part and vote. This is a reminder from Cheryl Underwood Radio.
From the KLEK Community Calendar, A-State Care presents After School Tutoring in the Community. Available Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 o'clock p.m. until 5 o'clock p.m. through December 6, 2016. Subjects that will be taught will be language arts, writing, reading comprehension, mathematics, science, geography, social studies, and history. The address is 911 Magnolia Road in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We have Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott in the studio. We were joined by officers Josh Beasley and Victoria Evans, but they had to step out on some business. And that's just kind of one of the aspects of the job. You never know when you might actually get called to have to go handle a situation. So, Chief, I'll just kind of let you comment on that aspect of the job.
Well, sure. I mean, this job, it's you go from nothing going on to extremely busy. It just it changes every day, and that's kind of what I like about the job. It's not the same thing day in and day out. You have a basic routine, but you know, the call volume that comes in, you could be doing something minor, then go to something serious, and just a few seconds later.
Okay, and so just to kind of follow up with some community aspects, so we're going to lighten up the mood a little bit. We already know that you participated in the National Night Out.
Sure.
And then last month you all did the Special Olympic, hosted or participated with the Special Olympics. What other community events do you have so far coming up that you can maybe think off the top of your head? I'm sorry.
Well, let's see. Yeah, we've had the event at, of course, Parker Park, back to school event, and then the National Night Out, and then Pastor Adrian Rogers and I are still working on a forum down at the Fullness of Joy Church. We still haven't got the date hammered out on that, but still working on that event, and I'd like to host a event maybe over at Allen Park, over there on Ray Street, kind of like what we did at Parker Park, just for that community. Bring the kids out and have a friendly game of basketball with the police officers, and just a day of cooking and fun and fellowship.
Okay. Now with Halloween coming up, I'm not a big Halloween fan, but are you all doing anything particular?
Well, I know we generally several churches around the community will host different events, try to keep the kids off the street for the most part. But we have one officer, Officer Blake Easley, is going to host a trunk or treat up on the Melrose Street area. So I think he's got some blow-up things scheduled for there, and so
we talked a little bit about it about a month or so ago. Officers living within the neighborhoods that they patrol the most. So is that still a thing, or are you looking into doing it?
Well, I mean, the officers, of course, live where they wish to live, but there are several apartment complexes around the city that will give the officers a discount on rent if they'll live in that complex. And they kind of serve as security for the complex, but on the other hand, it's putting an officer in the community. So it's good for the complex, and it's good for the police department and community relationships, because that officer is developing a relationship with the fellow tenants, which is part of the community.
I would like to see that. I remember several years ago I would see a police car parked here or there, certain apartments, and I think it's just kind of refreshing to know that someone is in the neighborhood looking out for the residents.
That is another one of the positive things about the take-home fleet program with police cars. These officers, after they get their year in, they're assigned a take-home unit, and that car's in the neighborhood. But on the more important aspect of it, if we have some kind of natural disaster, I can have all officers to deploy within just a matter of a few minutes, because they can get dressed and be in their car and be on the streets doing what needs to be done. So, you know, we don't have a lot of critical situations, but just let the citizens know that if we ever do, then we're going to be there.
All right, got a couple of Facebook shout outs. David Carnes says, one of the biggest things we can learn as a community is compliance. Just listen to the officer until he or she feels like there's no threat, and then carry on with the reason the stop was made. Everyone goes home safe. And then Blake Easley says, need you to come out for the trunk or treat on the 25th. Well, Blake, when I see you tonight at Legends, bring me a flyer, and we'll definitely get it announced here on KLEK, and we'll come out and participate. So when I see you tonight, Blake, just give me the information, and we'll be sure to get the word out there. But that is trunk or treat, October 25th. And like I said, Blake will give me the information tonight, and we'll pass it on to the listeners.
Absolutely.
Okay. Are there any final thoughts, any updates you want to share with the citizens, or just words of encouragement?
Just the biggest thing that's been going on is, of course, the pay issue, and now that that's resolved, and hopefully for the rest of the city, that's all going to be resolved. So we're going to move forward to other things, and it is the fall time of year. We have different activities going on with different organizations. So as a community, get out and support your local organizations and churches, and be part of your community, be active in your community, and take pride in your community.
And that's what I always try to encourage people. Don't just live in a certain area. Be a part of it.
Be a part of it.
And then especially with the election coming up, with your local and state and then national representatives, get to know who's running for you.
Right.
And so you can make an informed decision when you go to the poll.
That's right. Don't let people tell you who to vote for. Get out, educate yourself, and make a decision on your own.
That's right.
Who you need to vote for, and anything else in life.
All right. One last thing, Chief. I think in one of the local media you mentioned, now that JPD is fully staffed, you'll be able to bring back some of the things that may have been kind of suspended for lack of officers, such as the Proud unit. So give some quick comments on that.
Street Crimes Unit, yeah, that's one of the programs we'll be bringing back for, here in another couple months. And that's just this group of officers will target areas of high crime, things like that. So we'll just have more officer presence in these areas to hopefully deter crime, and just kind of keep a thumb on things.
All right. Let the listeners know when the next cycle of JPD testing is, CPA, and how they can sign up.
Well, we don't have a new testing date scheduled yet. It'll be in the spring at this point, so the date is yet to be announced, but we'll certainly get it out there when it does. And the spring session for CPA, I don't think has been set by Sergeant Brandon just yet, but probably by the next time we come on the show, I'll have that date after the first of the year. But just encourage everybody that if you're interested in the Citizen Police Academy program, we will start after the first year with our next session. It does fill up quick, so if you're interested, go ahead and get that application in now, and that way rolls around the first year, you'll be set and ready to go.
All right. Well, Chief Elliott, thank you for stopping by. Coming up at the top of the hour, part 3 of Community Conversations. It's it's a special extended edition. We're going to have JP District 12 candidate Jeff Wisham. Hopefully I pronounced that right. All right. We'll be back. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.